In a post-truth reality, who will save the world, uncover the mysteries of the universe and build a vast multimedia empire to rival the likes of Genghis Khan? Join these two Aussie meat robots as they thrash out the weird and wonderful, the classified and supernatural, as well as their own inconceivable adventures on the podcast you had to have and never thought you needed. It's time for Hidden in Plain Sight.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Hidden in Plain Sight. We want to let you know that you're being watched at all possible moments, but more on that later. And I'm going to stop recording the B-roll and say just welcome back to Hidden in Plain Sight. We had a lot of fun with our first 6 episodes all about the Blue Mountains. And tonight, Josh, I've got myself a little bit dressed up like bohemian style because
I see that.
Because the next few episodes are going to be all about the kingdom of Bohemia and the golden city of Prague. I'm so pumped to be talking about this because a lot of weird stuff has happened to you. A lot of weird stuff happens in that place. Just full stop.
To me, I mean, check out the history of the place. So I'm currently in Prague, Czech Republic. For those that don't know.
Yep.
Sean spent some time here. We spent some time here together doing lots of fun stuff and playing music.
5 years with my mates in Prague.
Now, we got 2 other things that we will share at one time, which one is a series all to itself about one gentleman that we worked with.
Yes.
In music. And some other stuff we'll share, maybe some music. If we can get some music happening at some point that we did together, we can share that as well. But Prague, Czech Republic, is a legendary city. So Prague itself means threshold.
Okay.
That's basically what it means.
Right.
And it's a bit of a mystical city. So very, very peanut shell history. Prague was founded legendarily through a vision. So a princess had a vision, and the vision was a city. This beautiful city somewhere in the center of Europe on a river. She grabbed a posse of knights or men or whatever, people on horseback, and trekked off across the country. And they stopped in the middle of Czech Republic at a place called Vyšehrad.
Right.
So where the main castle is now in Prague is actually not where the original castle was. It was across the river and up the way a bit in a place called Vyšehrad.
Yes.
So through the centuries, there was a period of time where people like you and me, which we actually got to experience, which we'll talk about in another video, were alchemists, musicians, poets, puppeteers. People were paid a wage to come and live here.
It's a bit like what they're doing in Ireland right now. They're inviting artists from all around the world to come live there. But this is what Prague did when? What era are we talking about?
This is in the 16th century.
Okay.
So this is obviously a long time ago, and it stretched for not just 1 or 2 years. It stretched over quite a long period of time, and there was a lot of encouragement towards anything that was spiritual, alchemistic, creative. It was basically they making a hub of this stuff.
Right, which is why when you think about the place of Bohemia or you think of a bohemian lifestyle, maybe that's why there's that reason or that connection is because there was a lot of artists or an invitation to a lot of people that were creative living and working in that place.
That's what bohemian is. It's like this artesian free, here we are, all a bunch of puffy shirted.
We'll stay with your story, but just before we go any further, I think the city of Prague is like, it's kind of like a medieval city in a way. And it was during the Second World War, it famously escaped, the bombing campaigns of the Allies. So it's pretty much intact as it was for centuries. And
it's one of the few cities in Europe that was never bombed.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really defined it for me, I remember walking down a street one time, walking past this opera house, and someone just turned to me and said, "Oh, this is where Mozart premiered Don Giovanni." And I'm like, "Oh, right. Okay. It's that kind of..."
It's just right there. It's just
like
building,
you're standing
like
next to this building and you go, okay. That's the kind of place that we're living in. And it's a place that you've spent like a lot of your life in, and I got to spend some time in as well. Yeah.
Well, I had my first experience of of being blown away by Europe was here in Prague. Like I've been to other places in Europe. I'd seen like some Vienna and some Germany.
Yeah.
And it was, but here, like we talk a lot about the esoteric thing about energy and vibe. My first vibe of Czech Republic was getting off at the airport and thinking I'd landed in some kind of weird ass post-apocalyptic version of the world where communism ruled.
Okay.
So it's just you come out of the airport and it's all what they call panolarks, which are which were the old communist flats. Everyone lived in the same. The buildings looked the same. The flats were the same size. Everything was the same.
It's the what do they call that brutalist architecture from the 1960s, 1970s, communist inspired. And it's interesting that they've done a lot of that all around the world. You didn't necessarily have to be in a communist country. It was like a kind of popular style of the 1970s, I believe. And you'll go to some government, like a lot of government buildings, even in New South Wales or in Australia, you'll see that have that type of architectural approach. A lot of, I guess, housing commission places are built in that way, or high-rise apartment blocks in park life kind of Blur style in the UK, built in that similar style.
Well, that hit me straight away. Coming from two things hit me. Obviously, from what I witnessed, the Czechs are terrible drivers because I saw 3 accidents on the way from the airport to where we were staying, which was about a 25-minute drive. I know, because I was so used to us. Let's say in Australia we practice. Josh.
You just slagged off a whole country of drivers.
Oh, no problem. I think they'll agree themselves.
They're bad drivers.
No, I don't say bad drivers. I say in Australia we're defensive drivers.
Right.
In a Czech, they're attacking drivers.
Okay, aggressive.
So there's no time. There's never time. You don't let anyone in. You ride people's butt. Like in Australia,
tailgating,
like
speed limits, just a suggestion. 150, 160 along the freeway.
Zebra crossings are a suggestion.
That's true. I can attest for that.
Horrible stuff. Yeah. And it's really that idea, which is, funnily enough, I will go out and say this because I'm pretty much considered half Czech anyway now.
Okay.
The mentality of Czech people is really chilled most of the time, very non-confrontational. I've lived here a long time, very rarely see fights. I'd worked in bars over the years. Very rarely seen a Czech person throw a punch, and if it is, it's normally just really drunk people over pretty quickly.
I remember that as well. That was one of the big things I noticed when I first moved to Czech Republic was just how chill a pub was.
Yeah.
And just how relaxed everyone was, having a good time. Didn't matter who you spoke with. Everyone was pretty friendly. Very different to the kind of more Anglo-Aussie vibe that I was used to in a pub where everyone was kind of slightly on edge, just going, fucking on. Maybe that's changed now. It's been a long time since I've hung out exclusively in pubs, but it certainly was when I was coming through.
I think it's different now, but back in the day, it was certainly that. But what I know, so my big statement is the Czechs, they put on their little devil horns when they get behind a wheel of a car.
Yes,
and even some of my
come out.
That's it. Some of my good friends, I get in and I say to them when I get in the car, can you please chill the fuck out? Stop beeping the horn. Stop screaming at other people.
Yes.
We're not going to get there. We're going 10 minutes down the road. I'm from Australia. Great. Work is 16 hours away in the car. So we're going 15 minutes. Yeah. Chill out, put some music on, stop screaming at everybody. Because it's so out of character. But it's part of it's literally offensive driving rather than defensive. And offensive, not offensive. Offensive driving.
Yes.
So I think Italy tops it as far as Europe goes. Czech's right behind it. But let's move on from that and get on to the main reasons we're here.
Well, we're talking about hidden in plain sight, the kind of mystical, spiritual nature of this great city.
This was my first, and I was like, I need to get out of here. Let's play a gig. I was here with a band. We were playing a gig. I was like, let's play the gig, get out of here. This is depressing and this is horrible. And on the first, so we went and put our stuff in the hotel, and the manager said, right, guys, chill out for a bit. Mm-hmm. And tonight, I'm going to meet you in a place called the Old Town Square, Staré Město. Right. So you guys, I'll order you a cab. You'll jump in a cab, and I'm going to meet you at this place, and we'll check it. And this just blew my mind. So we arrived down by the river, so kind of Prague Castle Charles Bridge, the famous kind of area. Mm-hmm. We pulled up near Charles Bridge. It dropped us off. got out the car. I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. And we walked back up towards the New Town Museum, towards the Old Town Square itself. I remember walking out onto the Old Town Square and just my whole mind was blown. I looked at that. They call it the Teen Church, which is a really Gothic, I think it's 13th century, 14th century.
Very old. Yeah.
Mind-blowing architecture, but it's not just the architecture, the whole vibe of the place. Like the Old Town Square itself, it was like I'd stepped back hundreds of years. I could still actually feel the old markets and the horse shit everywhere, and just that vibe was still there.
It's very strong in that place.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule. You can feel a bunch of different times in one moment.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Yes.
Absolutely mind blowing. So let's move on. We discussed we're probably going to do a few episodes on Prague because we both had some experiences. So I've got a couple to share. I had to cherry pick because there's a lot that I've had here. And I wanted to try and get some from, let's say, different genres of phenomena.
Yep.
So I had a few. I've picked 3 from before you got to Prague. So you came to Prague in 2001.
At the end of 2000, I think it was November 2000 and beginning of 2001. And I think you must have got there like 98, 99.
Not early 99.
Yeah.
Is when I came.
And just to mention, that's 10 years after the Velvet Revolution. No. Yeah. 10 years after Velvet Revolution. So we're talking about 10 years post-communist republic. Czech Republic has separated from Czechoslovakia in 1991, I think. So they've broken away. So it's still pretty like a bit of a Wild West of a place. Things is changing. There's a lot of upheaval in that place. That's what I remember it. But you were right there.
After 10 years seems like for some of us a long, long time. But to have a major regime shift, after so long under a certain regime, like you can imagine that a lot of that was still around. I mean, it's not like you just stop communism and anyone who is communist stops becoming communist. Like there's a big process of shifting and changing.
Well,
basically.
I think this is probably one of the reasons why you ended up with an ASIO or allegedly have an ASIO file is because you were living there and maybe witnessing some of the protests against the World Trade Organization back in 1999 with a group of punk anarchist types.
I think it was fairly common. Like I think that the agencies that look after all of these different things, like if someone is holidaying, that's one thing. But when someone is spending more time in certain countries that were under different regimes, I'm sure you have a file. Like
I don't think. Maybe.
Absolutely, you would.
Unknown file, hidden away, hidden somewhere. Yeah, hidden in plain sight.
So, basically, let's go through some of the. So, on my first, I had a bunch of experiences with one person in particular, and we were in Australia together. And I won't talk about them personally because they're a little bit anti-social media and anti all of that stuff.
Absolutely, and we will
They're a little bit like the American Indian, like taking a photo takes your soul. I mean, it's not that extreme, but I'll leave it as a very close and dear friend. So this person, we had spent some time together.
Yeah.
After the concert, so I'd met them through the band.
So this person was a drum tech or a guitar tech on these concerts.
That's
that
right.
You were doing a support with Metallica, Deep Purple, Aerosmith. I believe these are the bands you were playing with. Is that right?
That's right. And yes, and we'll just call her she for now.
She
was the drum tech.
Yep.
And we ended up spending some time. So she said, "Let me show you around Prague."
Nice.
My very first experience is something I'll call a coincidence, which I don't believe in and you don't believe in, but let's call it a coincidence.
Well, jury's out for me. I'm still figuring it out, but I know that you don't believe in a coincidence. But this
don't.
You don't. I know you don't. You're
so the first experience was we were literally just hanging out in a park on a summer's day, and that evening she was planning to take me around Prague, show me all the clubs, like the live music clubs and all the old town and all the stuff. So we met up at a place in Vinohrady. So to put this into context, Vinohrady is a big hill on the opposite side of the river to where the Prague Castle is.
Right.
On one side of this hill is a place called Žižkov.
Yeah.
And it's on the side of the hill that doesn't get the sun in the afternoon.
Okay.
The other side of the hill is like Namesti Miru and Visocina, which is the side. So Vinaradi means wine garden.
Right.
So which is the side that would have got most of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Coming around to the front of that hill is kind of where you've got what people would know as museum.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at the top of Wenceslav Square. That's where the slope starts coming back down. And on the back end is a place called Flora.
Right.
So, and there's a big cemetery back there. So this whole, almost the peak of this hill is a place called Jiří Hospoděbrad.
Yes. And
in this area, that's a metro station. And there's a big church on a hill, and it's kind of like the peak of that whole area. And that's where I met. That's where I met this person for the first time.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we were hanging out in a park there, and we were deciding what to do, and we were discussing things and weather. It was a beautiful summer's day.
Yeah.
And somehow we got onto the topic of summer storms and hail.
Right.
And her English wasn't great at the time, and I'm trying to describe summer snow. I'm like, because in Australia we have these kind of hailstorms.
Yes.
And I think we just had one. That's why I was talking about it.
Yes.
And we'd had some kind of hailstorms and some car damage, whatever else. And we were trying to work out what hail was, and we couldn't work it out, like what the Czech word for hail was.
Right. Excellent.
Literally, just at that moment, out of the blue, it starts pissing down rain, and we go, let's run for cover. And about 30 seconds later, golf ball-sized hailstones are smashing down. And I'm like, that's it. That's what I was talking about. And she told me what it was. And I was like, that is so interesting. Does that happen here much? And she said, almost never. And I was like, wow, okay, that's strange. And
that is
in the
very
time
odd.
I've been, it's super odd. And in the time I've been here since, altogether, it's probably 16 years now.
Right.
Or something along those lines. I have seen it hail twice.
So this is a kind of
that was one of them.
This is a very fairy tale kind of experience. I don't know if you remember that film Big Fish with Ewan McGregor, and it's kind of like this magic realism film about like these kind of magical things that are just conjured out of nothing. And I have to say, if there's any city in the world where that kind of magical, realistic kind of events would happen, it's got to be Prague, because when you say, "Oh, we're just trying to figure out the word," and it starts for hail, and then it starts hailing, it's got a serendipity to it that you couldn't predict. Yeah, exactly. But I guess this goes into it. Like, I mean, is that paranormal? Is this a form of conjuring, or is it just a strange coincidence? But you don't believe in coincidences.
The legend of Prague is, as I said, threshold, and there's a lot of different religions and beliefs that have centers here, from Buddhism all the way through to different forms of Christianity.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are here for the purpose of what they call the threshold or the energy, a place of alchemy. So you've got stories like Faust came out of here, and the legend of alchemy. Of the little devils, the little church that lived in a place called Devoka Sharka, Wild Sharka, where you and I went a couple of times.
Yes. And
there was the old story of these workers, these little people that would work down there, and they were alchemists. They were renowned for making red stained glass. So if we know, the original red stained glass is so rare because you needed gold to turn the glass red.
Right.
And gold has always been a bit of a hard to come by or expensive commodity.
Yes.
And these churches were churning out a bunch of red glass. And the legend was that they had worked out how to turn stone into gold. So that's this whole big part of the alchemy story.
I mean, that's the idea of the alchemy. I think one of the other areas that's really interesting when it comes to those magical occurrences, you've got Faust, but you've also got Kafka's Metamorphosis happening in Prague, like those kind of stories, which are, the oddest, most gothic, most, really strange, off the wall, absurd, kind of crazy stories in this place. It is nuts. And if you haven't visited it, you must visit.
It's worth visiting. And I honestly, it is a place where, like, could be said for many, but the experiences I've had when people have come to visit me, there's two extremes. It's either boring ass city, not very interesting, or holy shit, that's one of my favorite cities in Europe.
It's
nothing
like
really in the middle.
In Bruges with Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
He's just bored the whole time. Brendan Gleeson, loving it, loving every minute.
So the reason I talk about Venerati is because, and this particular person I was with, I've had a lot of experiences with this person, and she also tends to have a lot of experiences. So this is something that ties into one of our questions or theories that certain people also inspire phenomena.
Yeah.
The first thing that happened to me was on that same day that it hailed.
Right.
So it stopped hailing, it all cleared up. So that night we were coming back to the place Jiří Hospoděbrad.
Yep.
And right near, there's a famous tower that looks like a massive syringe. We might put a photo of it up so people see what it is.
There it comes.
A gigantic syringe.
Yep.
And it's in the top. It's right on the top of Venerati. And right next to it is an old Jewish cemetery. Now, for what I have been told and what I've researched, the whole park that TV tower in was a cemetery.
Yeah.
And some of the graves were relocated, but I think some of them were just dug up and buggered off. Because if you look at some photos of the cemetery, you can even see it looks like all the gravestones are being pushed up together against each other in parts.
It's probably the best way I can describe it is it's like a cartoon graveyard.
Exactly.
You've got headstones coming out at all different angles. Yeah. It's very close together. It's really bizarre and
ivy overgrowing half of it.
Absolutely, it is a very, very, strange place to visit, especially after dark.
It's quite small. Like obviously was much bigger, but this particular one, it's only, which I didn't realize at this time, but it's only, I'm going to guess it to say it's probably 100 meters wide and it's probably only about 30 meters deep. It wouldn't be more than that. It might be even less than 100 meters wide. It's probably maybe 60 meters wide. It's quite condensed.
Yeah.
But on the very first night that we were walking past there, she said, "Come down. This is the tower, and this is an old Jewish cemetery."
Yeah.
Now, right now, there's another photo that will stick up. So there's a new fence, which we'll see in the photo, which is a little further back than the old fence used to be. The old fence used to be further in front of this. And I remember it was pitch black. It was late at night. We'd just come to one of our favorite clubs, the first place I took you to, called Acropolis, which was a banging joint back in the day. We walked from there, towards Jiří Hospoděbrad, and she took me down and said, "Check out, this is the old Jewish cemetery. It's pretty dark. We won't see much."
Yeah,
we're standing at the fence, looking through. And it's the same place I've stood and had another experience, which we'll go into later. And we're looking through the fence, and she's just telling me a bit of the history, very knowledgeable about the history of Prague and Czech Republic, a person who's really into that stuff. And as we're talking, I'm looking through the fence, and I'm like, "Hey, look, there's people in there." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look, is that?" And I'm looking, and what it looks to me is, at first it looks like 2 or 3 hooded figures standing around a stone. I can kind of see the outline of a stone, and there's a very soft green glow, which looks like, how to describe the green glow? Like if you've got, those old digital green clocks with the digital green numbers. Yeah, you got one of those on.
It's kind of like glow in the dark. Like glow in the dark?
Kind of a glow in the dark vibe.
Yeah.
Very soft at first. And I'm looking and I'm kind of going, is that people? It looks like tall hoods, like Ku Klux Klan style hoods, like pointy long hoods. And I'm like, is that people in there? She's like, I don't know. And she's looking, I'm looking, and she's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, it's like they've got a light on her, it's faintly glowing. And she's like, yeah, that's true. And we're looking in. And I'm like, do you see how many people you see there? Like 3, 4? She's like, I think so. I think there's more. And we're both looking at it. And then at the same moment, we kind of both got this chill. It was very eerie. And we both kind of looked at each other and went, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, yeah. It was not like someone's going to attack us, but it was just like, I don't think we're supposed to be here right now. Let's just go.
So you're saying
we buggered off.
You saw a whole bunch of white, pointy-headed, were they apparitions?
I don't know if white or not. When I say Ku Klux Klan, it was pointy. So
right.
It really looked like, so in the end, we agreed there was about 10 or 12. Looked like 10 or 12 people standing around a grave that all had robes and hoods on, tall hoods, and they had something that was glowing on the ground that was kicking up a faint enough glow to clearly make out their outline, so they weren't see-through.
Right.
But not strong enough to actually make out any more detail than that.
Okay, so let's pause there. So if you're looking at these people, were they physical people, solid, looking shapes,
Yes.
or was it more translucent?
No,
Were they
as far
moving?
as
Were they talking? Were they
no,
doing anything?
nothing was happening.
Just
Nothing was
completely
happening.
still.
They would have been, from where we were standing, they would have probably been about 20 meters away, 20, 25 meters. And they were still, they were making no noise, but you could see the glow. And the more that we looked at it, we both felt like the more we kind of focused on it, the more we could see the kind of the glow and actually
Right.
make out the outline of figures, but no details. So no faces. So it almost looked like hoods came down over the face.
It,
And we just thought, like, my original thought was actually I wasn't scared. It
yeah.
was more like it just that we weren't supposed to be there. Like, just go. And we both, at the same moment, we're both intrigued and watching, and we both literally turned at the same moment to each other and went, "Let's go, let's go." And we
Let's
just
get out of
fucked
here.
off.
Let's get the
So
hell out of here.
now we spoke about it.
Mm.
So the next day we were speaking again, and of course, it was on both of our minds. We had a great day and we had a great time together. Everything was lots of fun. But what was going on?
What
So
was,
we said,
what was the satanic ritual that we interrupted last night?
we said, let's meet again at the metro station and go check out the cemetery, because during the day you can get into it.
Right.
And let's approximate where it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing that shocked me the most going there the next day is how small the cemetery was.
Yeah,
At the nighttime, I thought it was like going back like 100, 200 meters.
Right,
It wasn't.
right.
It's about 30 meters. And at the back of the cemetery, there's a wall.
Yeah.
There's a tall brick wall that goes up quite high. And behind that, there's flats.
Right.
So I'm looking and I was saying to her, okay, it was there, right? And we're both like, yeah, it was there. I'm like, well, let's go in. But like, it's at the back. These people would have been standing like right at the back of the cemetery in front of that wall. So we walked through there, and the whole area where these people would have been standing, these 10 or 12 people, was a part of the cemetery where everything's pushed so close to each other and there's so much ivy overgrowing everything. You couldn't really have got 12 people in there standing. You couldn't really have got 1 or 2 people in there standing. But we went as close as we could to check it out. There was no broken ivy, no broken branches. There was no candles. There was no nothing. But where these people looked like they were standing, we could see the clear grave, which we could see the night before.
Mm.
And from what we could see, zero evidence of anybody having been into that area. And it was super weird because we were both shocked. Like, we both went, that doesn't seem right.
Mm.
Like, so there was definitely... So that was an experience where I say it's still clear as day. I can still see the shapes and the pointed heads and the stuff and the pious. When I say pious, it was almost like the body language. If there was no hands in the air, there was no movement, but you could tell the heads were slightly down.
Yeah. Okay. That's that's got to be a fairly strange experience to witness. But the more that we talk about these things, the more that I kind of go, oh, it's another manifestation of energy that's playing out, residual experience, a memory of another time. I think the first thing I'd say is, like, cemeteries, by their very definition, are highly charged places of emotional resonance.
Yeah.
I was only in Hong Kong last week, walking past a cemetery called St. Michael's, which is quite close to the racecourse there. And I didn't know it was there. I was on the way to watch the races with a group of people that I was working with. And I just got this sort of chill or a sense that I needed to look to the right. And all up the hill is just these graveyards. And it has an attraction or an energy, a magnetism about that particular place. And then I guess thinking more about it, I mean, if you think how many people have spent time energetically connecting with people that they loved in that place and mourning for them and caring for them, like, those places are highly charged, energetic places. And then for somewhere like this, which is ancient, not necessarily ancient, but we're talking like quite a few hundred years old, that these particular graves were there. They've got to have a charge to them, a magnetism to it. So what do you reckon? What do you reckon? What do you think what was it you saw?
I have no idea, but another theory with cemeteries on that side of things is also people tend to avoid them unless they have to be there.
Right.
So it's almost like we there's a lot of energy that gets charged there, but then we kind of avoid them. So especially if they're in the middle of cities, they're almost like an oasis. There's this kind of island in the middle of a city that's just...
I remember my kids, every time we drive past the cemetery in Coogee, they were like, hold your breath. Hold your breath as you go past the cemetery. So you go, and hold your breath as you drive past it, because it's, I don't know, like it's like a bit of the lore of being a kid is like, oh, that's a spooky place. I kind of like them. I've always liked them. My family on my mum's side and my dad's ashes are there as well, as in Waverley Cemetery, which is on the ocean, just on just near Coogee, between Coogee and Bondi. And it's an amazing place. And there is a lot of, I really love visiting that spot.
Well, that particular experience, like I to this day, it doesn't feel like a ghost experience to me. Like it didn't feel like an apparition or a haunting. I would still swear that there was 12 people standing there in hoods with some kind of glowing thing. It's just that when we went there to actually try and debunk that or see what was going on, we could see no evidence of how anyone, because of how the graves are stacked up, you couldn't even have stood around this one particular gravestone they were kind of in a horseshoe.
Yeah.
You couldn't have done it. It was physically impossible. So it was a bit mind-blowing in that sense.
The other thing that I comment on is the green glowing light. Living in the place that I'm in at the moment, there's a bunch of caves down the back of our place where there is glowworms, and the glowworms emit bioluminescence, which is that kind of green that you're talking about. And when you go down there,
that's the green I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it's bizarre because when you go down there, the way that these glowworms behave, it's like there's tiny little green lights that look like little green eyes that are looking out at you from the cave. And I guess that's where you could, go, oh, this is a magical place with lots of little creatures looking at me. But you're describing this green color as more like a haze rather than a pinpoint.
It was a haze. It was a haze, and it felt like it was emanating from the ground upwards. It seemed like, so the reason that you'd have that feeling, it looked like it was a little stronger towards the bottom and faded into mist as it went up. But certainly mist is what it was. It wasn't like beams of light.
Yeah. That's more Raiders of the Lost Ark, Ark of the Covenant kind of vibes. I think.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think we're about to run out of time, so maybe we should click onto a new one.
Well, we should just pause there on that amazing story.
But when the same princess, who chose a peasant for her prince, urged him to build his castle here, she prophesied, "I see a great city whose glory will touch the stars. Honor and praise shall be given to it, and it shall be renowned throughout the world."
To happen for this second part of the session is the glasses have got to come off. I can't see anything in these. They're not very useful.
I can see myself.
Can you see yourself?
I don't know. No, I can see lots of reflections.
You can see a lot of reflection. That's all.
They would be the worst glasses to wear on a film set.
I think so, because you just be blurring or reflecting everything. So not a good idea.
See that? Did you see the doco about Team America? And the lengths they had to go through to get the glasses right for Kim Jong because of the reflections. They wanted a specific kind of glasses, and the prop guy was looking like it was really hard to get these glasses so they wouldn't reflect all the. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll keep them on. Maybe I will. I'll
punch the lenses out.
Just do it. Just do it.
Punch one lens out.
I think I'm just going to commit. Just got to commit. Commit to the glasses. Just commit to the eyewear.
Before I carry on with the next pre-Sean Prague story, just talking about one lens glasses. One of the funniest things I remember as a kid was I used to, after school, I used to be babysat by a Polish woman we called Auntie Frances.
Yes.
So at Auntie Frances's house, she had all of these different kids would come, about 8 or 9 at any given afternoon. Yeah. And there was a brother and sister. It was called Joe and Emma Reese. Joe
Okay.
was a bit older. Emma was the same age as me. Joe was a bit older. And they were Italian background, and they had this little stocky, staunch builder dad, like one of those. He looked like a staunch, stockier version of Tom Cruise, right?
Okay.
Tom Cruise's stunt double, not so beautiful, but that kind of vibe.
Yeah, okay.
And so we're kicking. They're into footy. They're Italian, so they're like, right, we kick the footy, the soccer ball, as we say in Australia, football here in Europe. We're kicking the soccer ball. And at Auntie Francis's backyard, there was a red brick house with a wall, and we'd drawn a goal with chalk. And right next to that red brick wall was the garage and the driveway leading up. So I'm in the goal. I'm doing these ones. And Joel's up there, Joe, sorry, and his sister, and they're kicking, and I'm doing my best to save it. And Joe, he's like, just musters up, takes a big run up, and just launches this unruly kick. And the ball skews way off. Just as the time his dad strides around the corner in his blue wife beater with his Ray-Ban, with his cool, aviator Ray-Ban reflective sunnies on, and the ball just goes smash right into his dad's face. And the dad was so cool. He was so staunch and so tough. We just didn't move. But one of the lenses had popped out of these aviators. And he was just like, the look on his face was a mix of surprise and hate and anger and joy, weirdly, at the same time. It was just that moment where everyone just froze, and he just stood there, and there was one of those pauses. It had to be like about 10 hours. It was probably literally 5 seconds. No one dared even breathe. And then he's like, right, get your stuff, let's go. Just didn't even pick his lens up.
Took it in his stride.
Just turned around and
that
bailed.
one's missing in action. Yeah, look.
That was so good.
Just to be as cool as that guy. What was his name? Reese.
I don't know what the dad's Joseph
family.
Reese was.
Yeah.
The dad was what a hit, and it was a hard kick too. Like, this kid was I was probably, I don't even know how old I was at the time.
I think
But
sometimes
Joe
when you get
was
hit,
a couple of years older, and he nailed that soccer ball, and it was straight into the eye, like straight into his dad's face.
sometimes when you get hit in the face, you just got to keep going.
He did. Took it like a champ.
Yeah.
But just the image, just the slightly surprised look on the face, and just one frame, just one eyeball staring back out through the sunnies.
I had 1 year of a tragic cricket career where I played for the Emu Plains cricket side, and we were the worst team in the competition. Anyway, we were doing practice one afternoon, and someone hit a high ball. And one of the guys was fielding for it, and he's like, "I've got it!" And he's like looking up at the ball, and just like goes straight through his fingers, like straight into his face, and he just drops cricket ball hard into the face. And I was just like, I don't know if this game's worth it. You know,
Man,
just kids getting smacked in the head by cricket balls. This is not good.
Well, I had a stepbrother that lost a testicle playing cricket. And
that's just the next level, isn't it?
Well, then one of our teachers, Mr. Gabrielides, lost a testy playing grass hockey. Remember that nonsense?
Fuck. How do we know? How do we know that one of our teachers only had one testicle?
Because he was gone. I think he was our science teacher, and he was our year coordinator.
And he just shared
Mrs.
it with
Wright.
us? Oh.
Well, no, so Mrs. Wright was in the hockey team, or the coach of the team, or something. She was
Sounds
the British,
about right.
the British PE teacher.
Yeah.
Your lights changed. There we go.
She's just around the corner.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go, Mrs. Wright.
Must
We've got
be
to ask her. We've got to speak to her about St. Columbus.
She knows.
She knows. I love Mrs. Wright, or Miss Wright. She was amazing. But she told us all, because Mr. Gabb had gone missing, and I guess they had to tell us something, and they worked out that it was probably better to tell us the truth rather than let us all find out that he lost a nut. So he became a one nut Gabb.
Yeah, look, they don't talk about that when you sign up for these team sports, but they can be dangerous.
Losing a nut.
Yeah, losing a testicle.
Well, we did, man, just on that before we move on, we did some outrageous sports when we were kids. I mean, at our school in particular, they stopped us playing tackle footy.
Yeah.
We all wanted to play. We were all NRL or rugby players, or thought we were, and loved that stuff.
We loved it.
It wouldn't have a bar of that. So the genius idea they came up with for our elective sports, No, we won't let them play NRL. We won't let them play rugby. We'll let them play Australian rules football.
I remember that. I loved playing that. That was awesome.
You were there. But remember,
it was awesome.
This is a bunch of kids from the Blue Mountains, New South Wales, Australia. Yeah, the Sydney Swans existed, but no one gave a
No one
stuff.
knew what we were doing, but what
all we knew about
just run.
Yeah, and what did we know about AFL? All it was you couldn't tackle anyone, but you could just smash the fuck out of anybody. Shoulder charge and elbow them,
charging.
Run up their back. Remember that? Up
yes,
there, Gazelle.
yes.
You'd boot the ball in the air and you'd run up someone's back. And
I remember loving those sessions. I loved it.
They were great.
It was a big field, and I think it was like 50 on 50. Like there were just kids everywhere, just playing, hitting.
It was
each
a
other,
massive open massacre.
Nah,
in the middle of summer. Middle of summer, there's no bubblers, nothing down there on that field. Middle of summer, just smashing each other for an hour.
I'm going to get back on my high horse. That's something that fucking AI and video games just can't replace. Just smashing each other.
They can't replace dehydration,
the visceral reaction to getting smashed. I mean, you just look.
And it was girls too. It was guys and girls.
Mixed. It was a mixed game. It was awesome. It was awesome.
People smashing each other.
People just smashing each other.
That's got to come back. We got to bring that back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get on some of the old crew. Let's bring it back.
Yeah. I'd love to see how we go with a bit of that. Let's see how our joints hold up.
Well, let's move on now to the next story. So that was an interesting one. So the next one I have is what you'd class as absolutely supernatural. This is a ghost story.
Okay.
So I ended up, the band, I decided to stay in Europe, and the band I was with returned to Australia.
Okay.
I loved it. I fell in love with Czech Republic, and I was like, this is amazing. So I was staying with the drum tech and her grandma, and they lived in Jiří Poděbrad, in this place on a flat not far from where this aerial is, where the TV antenna is, and all the stuff was happening. It's a pretty charged area. Let's say I had lots and lots of experiences there, but this one stood out to me as probably like the hair standing on the neck ghost story.
Yes.
Of the whole experience. So it was a flat it was a 2-bedroom flat. And
these flats they're quite grand when you think about it. Like like 4 stories. They're all older buildings. They're beautiful in many ways. High ceilings.
These buildings in Vinohrady, so there's businesses on the ground normally.
Yeah.
So in this part of town, you'll have shop fronts on the ground floor, and then you'll have 4 or 5 flats. And this particular one was 4 flats above, so a 5-story building in total.
Yep.
This flat was on the 3rd floor, and there was only 2 of the spaces in this building were actually being lived in. So each floor, if you were to look at it, each floor had 2 flats on it.
Right.
So or two doors. Most of them were businesses. All of them were businesses except for like offices, whatever, except for one on the 1st floor and this one where the grandma lived.
Right.
So there was 10 dwellings total in this place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was an old school lift, which was just enough to fit 2 people like this, an old school wooden thing with or obviously stairs going up. So this one particular night, they'd ask me if I'd like to go and see, there was some Czech movie screening, some old thing. And do you want to come or would you like to stay at home? Like it won't be subtitled. And I said, hey, I'd probably enjoy just staying here and maybe playing a bit of guitar or whatever else. No problem.
Sure.
So her and the grandma, they left to go to the cinema. And I think it's the first time I'd been alone in the flat. So they left.
Uh-huh.
And the room I was sitting in, which was one of the kind of bedroom sitting room things, the door was face on to the main door of the flat.
Right.
So if you open that door, there's a little vestibule, and right in front of you, the main door to the flat, big old double, beautiful old wooden door with about 1.5 centimeters underneath it, or even 1 centimeter, where you could just see the light come through if someone was coming up or someone switched the light on out in the building.
Yeah.
You just see the light come on under the door.
Right.
So they had left, and I'm going to say it's about 15 minutes after they left. I'm just sitting there, guitar in hand, and everything as far as I was concerned was pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, it's just a strange, what I'd say, I'm going to say coldness, but it wasn't coldness. Just a weird edge happened. And at that same moment, I could hear someone walking up the stairs of the house. So this was quite late at night, and something you're not used to, because there's only one other person living in the building on the first floor. So if I could hear someone coming up the stairs, they were past the first level. And I was like, oh, no problem. They've come home. My first thought, they've come home. So I can hear the footsteps gradually getting louder and louder.
Yeah.
And the feeling starts to get uncomfortable. I'm like, all right. And I look at the door and I'm thinking, why can't I see the light? There's no light under the door.
Right.
So someone's walking up in the pitch dark up the stairs. I'm like, it's okay. It's probably someone from one of the businesses. They've forgotten their whatever, and they're just running in to grab something.
Yeah.
And I can hear the steps getting closer and closer. As it is, I can hear the jingle of some keys. And by this time, I know that it's gone past the second floor and it's coming up to that floor. And I'm like, by this time, I am frozen. Like, I can feel there's something in the air. I'm tingling. Everything's tingling. And I'm just looking at the bottom of the door going, when's the bloody light going to come on? When's someone going to switch that light on? The footsteps come all the way to the door, and it sounds like someone has keys in their hand or gets a bunch of keys out. I thought, she's come back, left grandma somewhere, they've forgotten something.
Yeah.
And I can feel my heartbeat racing. Everything's on a pinnacle. All of a sudden, as the footsteps got to the door, all the noise stopped. Everything went dead silent. Like, it's almost like it was anti-noise. And something went, Joseph, 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 3 times, right next to my fucking head. Right here. And I just went, ugh. All my shackles went up, everything, and I could not move. I was frozen. I didn't know whether to scream or run or dance with joy. All I could muster in my head, I was like, just sing, just play, do something. And I just started on my legs, just started to like, just tap out a rhythm.
Just tap it out.
I was tapping a rhythm.
That's it.
And I was trying to, I was so, it was so intense. And as I started to do this, then I just started to sing. I don't even know what I was singing. I was humming and singing. And all of a sudden I started to breathe again, and everything just went back to normal. And literally about an hour and 10 minutes later, they returned, and everything was as it should have been. So meaning I saw the house light click on. You could hear the door downstairs bang shut very faintly. Saw the house light click on. Heard the lift go.
Yep.
As they came back in the house, I was like, they could see. I was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, did you guys come back? Did someone come back? Is there someone here? They're like, what's going on? I said, like, okay, I don't know. I just need to just breathe and let us know what's happening.
You were scared.
I was so much adrenaline running through my body.
Yeah.
It was
that's
just,
freaky,
it wasn't
dude.
scared. It wasn't anything. I was like I could have run a 10 million mile marathon.
Right. Adrenalized. Yeah.
And I said, I told the experience.
Yep.
And she translated it for grandma, and they both froze. And I was like, what's going on? Well, grandpa's name was Pepper, which is Joseph.
Joseph. Yeah.
And they both said that is extremely, and then said, the room you're sitting in, his ashes are actually in one of those cupboards in an urn. And I was like, wow. But you know what happened then? Everything just went calm. Like, I felt really calm. And for some reason, my mind just went, yeah, of course, that's what it is. And I kind of really accepted it. But that feeling, the hardest thing to convey is 3 things that happen. The weird coldness that wasn't cold. It was almost like you're so hot with fever you feel it's cold, or you're going into hypothermia. There's this weird, like, you start to feel it's really warm, cold. The second one was the anti-sound. There was a moment where it felt like it was a black hole of sound. Like, even if I tried to say anything, the sound was being sucked away. Like, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, my own breathing, you know, if you're quiet and everything's quiet, you can hear stuff. You sometimes even hear your own heartbeat. It was almost like that was being drawn away from me. And the last moment was that being frozen.
Mm.
Like I wanted to move. I wanted to do something, and I couldn't muster any movement for a little bit. There was a good few seconds there where I could not physically move my own body. Like I think my eyes were moving side to side, and the rest of me was just literally frozen. So people say frozen with fright.
Mm.
I don't recall being afraid. My fight and flight thing was adrenaline. I felt like my adrenaline had gone through the roof.
Right.
And that was that. That was an intense experience.
So did they have any explanation for what they thought it was, apart from just saying, oh, this is the ashes of Joseph or Pepper is in this room? Did they have any?
I think that, weirdly enough, they were both a little freaked out at the same time as very accepting. And just like I told them that, I don't know, the neighbor came around for a cup of coffee. Like, okay, that's weird, but okay.
What I'm curious about is was it some voice that was looking for Joseph or looking for Pepper, or was it Pepper?
Sorry.
Or
the voice was female. It was a female voice. Super odd. So it wasn't a male's voice that said Joseph. It was a female voice that said Joseph. And weirdly enough, a good friend of ours that I used to be quite close to used to call me Joseph. That's why it freaked me out a little bit too.
Okay, so hang on. So a female voice. Do you know
Joseph 3 times?
Joseph
Quickly.
3 times. Okay, so you're in Czech Republic. Did you detect the pronunciation, the sound, accent? Did it sound like a voice that you'd heard before?
No.
How would you describe it? Like, was it a young woman, middle-aged woman, old woman's voice?
It didn't come across as cracked and old. It came across, if I was to say what the voice sounded like, I'd say a woman between 30 and 50 of nondescript race, because there was no heavy accent. It wasn't Aussie, it wasn't British, wasn't American, wasn't Czech, wasn't German. It was quick. It was just Joseph, Joseph, Joseph.
So
like
it was
that.
quick,
Really
and
quick.
was it whispered or was it spoken out loud?
It wasn't shouted, but it was spoken. So it was like basically me saying Joseph, Joseph, Joseph. Just like that. Not Joseph, Joseph, Joseph. Not Joseph. Just Joseph, Joseph, Joseph. Really quickly and right here. Like literally like someone speaking about half a foot away from my ear.
Bizarre. What a bizarre experience. I remember visiting that flat and visiting your friend's grandma and spending some time. I think we spent our first Christmas there.
Yes. Together, yes.
My first Christmas in Czech Republic.
Your first Christmas, yes.
Yeah, in that place. I don't recall that experience, it being a spooky place, but certainly that would be really weird.
In that flat itself, I never had another experience. I mean, I only stayed there for a little while, but I never felt uncomfortable. I never had another experience. It was so odd because it was the opposite. I felt quite comfortable in the house.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, it's a shame because strangely enough, they had a dog, a very cool dog, Belgian Shepherd by the name of Ray.
Yeah.
If I would have been interested if Ray was in the house because they'd actually taken Ray with them.
Right. And if Ray would have reacted to it.
What's another thing you notice in Czech Republic? It's like a city of dogs.
Everyone's got a dog.
Everyone has a dog.
And dogs are welcome in most places. Like you go to a bar, a dog, you can have a dog.
Absolutely.
It's welcome. I have to say that most of the dogs are pretty well behaved too.
Well, they all live inside, don't they? I mean, I was shocked when I'm seeing, like in Australia, I was quite used to most dogs live outside, and especially if it's a bigger dog. Whereas here, people are living in the city in a small flat with a whole family, and they've got 2 German Shepherds.
Couple of dogs, yeah.
I'm like, okay, great. But that's why you see a lot of action. Like first thing you see is a lot of dog shit everywhere. But remember back in the day, you'd remember those guys on the quad bikes, with the vacuum cleaners.
Yes.
So in Australia we spray the dog shit with something, it turns white. Isn't that something that happens?
I don't know.
Well, here I don't know if that's true. I made that up. But when dog shit turns white, it just goes white.
Yeah, it's just dried out. I think sun does
It just dries out and goes white.
Yeah,
right?
I'm pretty sure that's
so. No gnomes go around and spray it. But here they had this army of
gnomes.
dudes on quad bikes with shit vacuums on the back, And they would cruise all the parks because there's quite a few parks in the city. And because there's so many dogs, people are walking their dogs all the time. And I was like, wow, check this out. These are like shit terminators. They're all over the place.
Just getting the dog shit left, right, and
all
center
the time, like constantly. There's a tribe of them, and they're just in all the parks.
And
that was so.
And for anybody
look,
that's still listening, that's a couple of minutes of your life that you're never going to get back.
But some knowledge that maybe no one else would share with you. The shit collection brigade of
I see what you did there.
2001.
You just went, my glass could be half empty, but it also could be half full.
Or it could
that's
be
optimistic.
Could be that much.
Are you still
Pretty
drinking
much.
the angel water?
Yeah.
How much is
It's
that?
still Icelandic water.
Really?
Yeah.
Mate, what
It's
are you
not
going to
cheap
do?
as far as water goes, but it's
Pretty good. Pretty good price.
Yeah.
Good deal.
It's like millions of years, like all water, but this was ice not so long ago, drilled out of the middle of a glacier. So I'm probably going to catch some weird Neanderthalic disease from this stuff.
Mate, vectors. They're all out there. All those ancient
that was
vectors.
that was about the look, there was some other stuff that happened, but there are two major experiences that happened before you got here, and the very last one I want to share is actually not. It's what we might call a psychedelic experience. So there was a place in I think we've talked about this in another podcast. We used to have a rehearsal room, right near Charles Bridge,
underground
on a road called Karolini Svetli.
Yeah. Very nice.
That's where we met Owen Wilson and those guys, and we invited them to Ozfest. Or you invited them to Ozfest.
I can't. Yes. That's right.
Right near that rehearsal room that we ended up getting out of because it got flooded when the big floods came through in Prague.
That's right.
Right near that rehearsal room is a place called The Gallery, which closed in 2001. And The Gallery was a small shop where you could buy all kinds of hallucinogenic. It was all legal.
Right.
So all the old stuff, because, absinthe or the original absinthe was still legally available. So you had wormwood in it and all of these psychoactive.
Yep.
So you could go to this shop and buy psilocybin, magic mushrooms from all around the world. You could get like
peyote,
seeds for different things,
mescaline.
all kinds of, all of it was in this place.
Great.
And my friend had a contact there, and this person had given us a specific variation of a Mexican psilocybe.
Yep.
So it was just a little piece, said, try it out, just try a little bit and see how you go. And time to time, I tried some mushrooms and those things. So I took, but only time to time. Like it would be one of those things on an occasion, take it, have an experience. And, it's not something that I'd say I need to do that every day. I'd never really had what I would call hallucinogenic experiences on any of it. I never had like the visual hallucinations. I would have feelings and things happen, but it wasn't. On this one occasion, I'd eaten a very small piece it was quite a large stalk of mushroom. I'd eaten a small piece.
Mm-hmm.
And we were coming back from the town towards this same flat. We were going home. Mm-hmm. And on the way there, just the next park along from the Syringe Tower is Jiří Hospodě with the big steampunk church that looks like Noah's Ark. We might find a picture and put that up. Incredible church to visit. Outside, it looks literally like a massive airline carrier. And inside, it's fully steampunk. It's the most steampunk church I've ever seen.
Right.
But in this park, we were walking home, and the dog was with us as well. We get to the park, and I just had finished saying, wow, I don't really feel that mushroom.
No.
I don't really feel it at all.
Yeah, that's.
And I've looked up, and it happens to be a full moon. And I start looking at the moon, and as I'm looking at the moon, I start to see things happening in the moon, projections. So I'm seeing faces and think like movies playing out. And I was like, okay, and she was still with me, and I was discussing some of the things I was seeing. And I was saying, you seeing that? She's like, no, I'm not seeing any of that. And then like the buildings turned into what looked like soldiers at 1 minute, and then what looked like. So I was like, this isn't obviously quite a wild or vivid hallucinogenic experience.
You going there, yeah.
Well, I was watching so I watched all this happen. Well, watched all of this happen. And as far as I was concerned, I watched it for a few minutes, and then we buggered off back to flat, went to sleep. was talking about the next day, and she was saying, well, she brought it up and said, some of that stuff you were talking about, have you done any research into the history of Czech Republic? I'm like,
Right.
no, why? She was saying you were chatting about some of the old, like, Rudolph Kings and some of the Charleses, the Carols, and you were talking about some books that they'd written, and so you don't know anything about any of this. I was like, not really. I don't even
Right.
know who what Carols, what. And she said, and she pulled out one of the banknotes, and one of them is on the 100 crown banknote. She said, "This guy, like you said, you were seeing this guy in the moon," and I was like, "Yeah, okay." I remember seeing your face in the moon. So your face was there, weirdly enough, wearing a pair of aviator sunnies, but it was you.
Not these ones.
Not those ones. You need some aviators.
Damn it!
But I saw a whole bunch
somewhere.
of stuff. It was almost like clearly the next day I knew I'd seen a lot of things. But so I said to her, well, I guess I saw a lot in those couple of minutes. I was standing there in the park, and she said to me, what do you mean a couple of minutes? I was like, a couple of minutes that were in the park. She said, you were there for hours. I said, what are you talking about? She said, I left. I left and went home and came back 2 hours later with the dog, and you were still standing in the same position on one leg, looking at the moon, and as though you hadn't moved. And I was like, oh, okay. So I would swear to you, I stood there for 3, 4, 5 minutes. I saw some movie play out on the moon, of which I remember you being there. I remember some old guys being there. I remember seeing some books.
Yeah.
I don't really remember sharing any information with her either. And then I felt that I just went, all right, let's go home. And that apparently wasn't the case.
Oh man, that is a trippy experience, like literally a trippy experience. But it sounds like you were downloading, because I can vouch for in our education in Australia, we didn't learn anything about Bohemian Czech Republic or the the medieval Czech Republic. There's no way that you would know any of that information.
Dude, I'm gonna sound like a dumbass when I first when I got accepted into the band that I auditioned for that was going to Europe.
All right,
and they said one of the gigs is we're supporting Metallica in Prague. I went, oh gee, I've always wanted to go to France.
No,
like that's me. That's how much I knew about fucking Czech Republic.
Well, I guess that's sort of the limitation of like some of our education. However, the fact that you're talking about all this stuff and that talking lucidly or vividly about history sounds like
very odd.
Tapped into something. What do you reckon? What do you think's going on?
She had a greater recognition than I started talking about the volumes of work by one of the kings, and she was verifying that by saying that one of the Carols had written like tomes of work on spiritual things and had commissioned tomes of work. And this was all connected to the period of time when there was all the alchemists here and all the musicians and all of that stuff.
Yes, right.
So that was pretty. Again, I'm going to say out of body experience, because my recollection of that time was different than the person I shared it with. But I would agree, what it felt like to me was some kind of download of energy information. I mean, anyone might say, man, you were tripping balls. And I'm like, yes, I just admitted I'd taken a substance, but I never felt at one moment out of control. It literally felt like I looked up at the moon. All of a sudden, a bunch of things played out in the moon, and I moved on. And I still had the thought, gee, those mushrooms aren't working. It's not working.
It's interesting. We talked only a little while back about like what is going on with hallucinogenic experiences and what's happening inside the body and the mind in those situations. And I don't know, obviously the internet listens to us. And so I got fed some stuff on YouTube that I was looking at. This doctor, I believe in the United States, is looking into what is going on with cerebral spinal fluid, or CSF. And so they were looking at the properties of CSF moving up from the sacrum, which is a bone, meaning the sacred bone, moving up the kundalini, up into the brain. And the transference of this CSF, according to this doctor, is that inside the CSF is small quantities of DMT.
Yeah, which is what the body produces upon death.
And that you can, in certain states, awaken this DMT response, which will cause a hallucinogenic response to it. And so I wonder, like, people, through evolution and through the way that, people have kind of figured things out, there's usually a reason for having these parts and these functions inside our bodies, and, tapping into some of the Eastern traditions about awakening the serpent at the bottom of your sacrum and having these transcendent experiences. It kind of sounds like that's what you tapped into with some, good Mexican mushrooms.
There's lots of theories floating around. I know. Look, currently, I know maybe it's possibly going to happen in Australia at some point, but I know in Northern Europe they've legalized psilocybin as treatment for depression.
Right.
So they realize there's lots and lots of people taking antidepressants.
Yeah.
And those antidepressants have a lot of side effects that are not desirable.
Yes.
But they worked out with microdoses of psilocybin, you can treat a lot of depression and anxiety.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Without the side effects, because if you microdose on psilocybin, firstly, it's not addictive, and secondly, you don't have any hangovers. There's no side effects. Zero. And you can do whatever you want with that stuff. And another theory, there's plenty of theories about the evolution of humans, and one of them is that part of that massive leap forward for us in our evolution was at a time where we either intentionally or unintentionally started to consume psilocybin. And psilocybin is what made our brain quite different.
This is the stoned ape theory that Paul Stamets talks about in relation to earlier versions of human.
Well, one thing we do know, we do have receptors for, like, our brain has receptors for things like THC and psilocybin and a bunch of different things, which means we have been consuming that for a long period of time. For that to have become part of our evolution, it means that we have been consuming those substances for a long time. Who knows what that means? Like, I think we've talked about a few times, I really don't do much of anything anymore. I don't feel that I kind of need to, but I will not take away from some of those experiences I have of being quite literally life-altering for positive things, but I don't condone any use of anything. But I was just, I guess, lucky enough to have some people who shared some information with me, and I was well educated on some of these things.
Yeah,
and had some interesting experiences.
Look, it's another form of education. I can vouch for having an experience in talking to the moon, but that was absinthe related when I was pretending to be Budget America Man.
I remember that.
I
got thrown out of a bar I was working in into a whole tray of oysters. Do you remember that?
It was because it was Halloween and I'd stolen an American flag. It was the middle of the Iraq War.
And you were wearing tinfoil.
I had tinfoil and I had the flag on as like a cape, and
you were taped up. You had your eyes
taped up. My eyes. The gag was America is blind. Look at what they're doing to the world. I was very anti-establishment then, probably still am to more or less. But yeah, I was just wandering around causing mayhem. But before I had been ejected from that particular bar that you were working in, I had consumed several shots of absinthe, and I was fucking on another level altogether. And I do remember spending some time having deep conversations with the moon outside the establishment that I'd been kicked out of. I didn't have those download moments. I was way too wasted, but I was speaking in tongues. Definitely speaking in tongues to the moon and having a conversation off my face.
Well, one last real quick story to wind this up, because we'll probably move on to shooting the next episodes at another time where we get onto yours and our connections.
2. Yes.
But just a quick one with that particular place that you got thrown out of. The first Christmas time you were there.
Yes.
The second Christmas time you were there.
Yes.
For some reason, I'd gone to this place. I was asked to go there. It shut down. It was only closed 3 days of the year, and the water would freeze. So I was asked to go there to run the hot water so the boiler wouldn't freeze.
After it closed.
I have probably never been more scared in my life.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I decided to put The Shining on, and I sat. So what I found out years later, no one really wanted to be in there alone, which was odd. Like, we'd all lock up and leave together. No one wanted to stay back on their own.
Yes.
It's one Christmas. I'm sitting in there, and I was told, drink whatever you want, eat whatever you want, watch the satellite TV. And I'm like, this is great. I've set myself up on the bar. I'm pouring beer.
Just to clarify, no TV, no YouTube, no, like we don't have any of that shit. So like free food, free TV, awesome. Free alcohol, great.
I'm there. That was the deal, and I'm there. I'm like, I'm going to live this up. I'm going to sit here all night and watch all the greatest things.
Oh man!
And the moment night fell, I just got there just before nightfall. This place was it only had one front window, and it went in quite deep. I was sat at the bar, and it just came over me, the fear, the feeling, and I said, I'll just put the TV on. So as I put the TV on, the first thing that comes on is The Shining. And I'm paralyzed in this place. But the one experience that scared, nothing happened out of the ordinary, except I've never been more scared in my life. Scared that I ran out of that place. I gathered my breath. I sat there. I watched half of the movie trying to get enough balls to run out of the place. And I was planning in my mind, I got to lock this, close this, do this. And I'd run through it about 15 times to make sure I wouldn't miss anything, but I'd do it as quick as possible. Got the fuck out of there. One time, the thing that happened in front of about 12 people, we'd finished a busy day. There was always all the waitresses, bartenders. We'd all just finished. Everyone's out. We cleaned up. We just sat down to have a drink. And we were discussing something slightly esoteric, like as esoteric as we might have got in those days. And right behind the bar, I'm standing on the bar looking out. There's 4 or 5 other people with me, and the rest of them had their back to it. There was a bang and a ball about the size of a doubly big soccer ball, double XL soccer ball.
Yep.
Ball of light that was bright white blue. Just fucking like ball lightning. Boom, right in the center of the room. Everyone stopped. And the ones of us that saw us were looking at each other going, what the hell just happened? Everyone else stopped and turned around and looked. And you could smell this, like it wasn't burned electricity. And it was in the middle of the room. So nothing had fallen. It wasn't a PowerPoint. It was right in the center of the room at about head height. And there was this weird ass smell, strange smell that I haven't smelt before or since. And we were all ready to strap one on after a busy day. And all of us turned around, looked at each other and went, let's get the hell out of here.
Last drinks.
That's it. We all everyone bum rushed it straight out the bloody door. And we found out, anyway, the main point to that story, I found out years later that used to be the morgue for Prague 2. The building we're in was the morgue. None of us ever knew it.
We'll come back for Hidden in Plain Sight Part 2 of Prague. Yes. It's going to be pretty spooky, pretty supernatural.
It gets better from here.
Oh, mate. It gets so